my name's Brett. I'm an alcoholic and a drug addict. I had a lot of addictive traits when I was younger. Women, basketball, skateboarding, that developed into rebellious teenage angst, and I never really felt a part of. I separated myself from other people and I found my identity, the bad kid. And for a long time, that suited what I was trying to do. It soon became something that definitely didn't serve me at all. I believe there wasn't anything that made me an alcoholic or drug addict, but the first things that, made me want to experiment was kind of looking for identity of what I was not supposed to do. First it was skateboarding, and then with that, sagging my pants and smoking cigarettes and then marijuana. I was out of hustle. I was out of energy to try to provide for this thing. So really I had no other choice but to get recovery or to fend for myself out there. And once I knew that my parents would stop helping me get high and stop thinking that it was their problem and really started to take care of themselves. When they started working a al-anon program is when I kind of started to follow shortly after that. At first I was super resentful the fact that they were doing this because they were learning about enablement. I can't continue to use if I'm not being enabled by someone. 11 days out of prison, I overdosed. The day before my brother was getting married, he was in from Japan, and my mother almost had to bury a son and marry a son in the same day. That took a lot of courage to finally walk in and realize that I was defeated by this disease. My probation officer had given me one more chance. I'd been to prison twice. I'd been to 10 rehabs at that point. I really had no other options. My new identity really has nothing to do with these outside things. It has more to do with who I am, who God made me to be. I'm not gonna lie and say that drugs weren't fun. It just was a managing thing. I was doing them just to get by. I look back at my younger self, and for so long I thought that drugs were cool. I thought that making money was cool. I thought that all these outside things are what my identity was that made me cool. It made me realize that my whole perception was wrong with the whole problem. If I have any purpose in this program today, it's how do I talk to younger kids to try to help change their perception in recovery and life for that matter. So I see where when everything that I thought was cool before was no longer cool, and what I thought was appealing, what I thought was my identity, soon became something that I no longer looked at as something that would serve me anymore, but something that would necessarily get me to any place I wanted to be in life. Oftentimes I talk about, trying to find my purpose in this world. I believe my purpose in this world is to love as God loves me, but my purpose in this program, especially to the young guys, is to make recovery look cool. I take it super serious, but I also don't take myself that serious in terms of being hard on myself, these superficial things that often turn me off to recovery. I look at what my purpose is now, and I feel a strong obligation to get a lot of wisdom from these old timers and pass it to the younger generation. Being 33 years old and being mature enough to listen to these old timers, but be able to be young enough and attractive in the sense of still being able to talk to young people and to carry this message. I'm almost celebrating 6 months of sobriety, which is the longest I've ever had in my life. But I also try to make my new identity as something that I have to offer people once I might attract them with my humor, my intellect, whatever it may be. I actually have something to offer these days rather than hide behind it. There's hope for anybody. I would tell a family member, a mother or a father, that their loved one is not using because they don't love you. A loved one is not using as something personal against you. Carrying that hope to a family member is a little different than carrying it to the addict who's still suffering. When I'm talking to somebody who's still really in their disease, I would tell them, I would just be looking for a tiny bit of willingness in order to get to a place where they could clear their head and it would be less foggy. And then that's when a point when the actual message is really carried, because I can't talk about all the great stuff that recovery has to offer when somebody's still in their disease. About 2 weeks before my head was clearing, I wanted recovery again. And I don't talk about all the promises that this gives me, but I talk about being in that same position that they were at that moment, thinking, am I powerless over drugs and alcohol? Maybe I can just get here to clean up for the next month and then I can go out on a run again and it'll be different. So to try to put myself back in that feeling of desperation, just questioning everything, and then, work from there. Just super grateful that I'm in a place today where, yesterday I had a few mothers call me asking for my suggestions, my help. Before that was my mother calling other people frantic, as crazy mothers do, but they're calling me now, and today I get to sit in front of these cameras and carry a message of hope.